Hello and welcome to the first day and the first CanWeek of this year. I chose the worst week to do this. However, here we are. And I decided to start it off with a bang. And by bang, I mean just visceral emotion, because we're going to be talking about Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. To give you context for why this book was just a lot for me in a good way, I've had a bit of a reading healing journey over the last year. So the last video I did was the end of the week of Insler, where I talked about In the Body of the World. And through that book, I kind of realized that writing could be a healing thing. Maybe I had some things I still needed to work out, you know. Then I proceeded to have one of the worst years of my life in terms of mental health. What's up? And then I read She of the Mountains by Vivek Shreya for the Vibe Buddy read. And then I remembered that, like, again, you can work things out through writing and healing in a non-journalistic kind of way, in terms of being more creative with how you express your issues, the things that you're feeling. And then I read a book, which I'm going to talk about, called Girl in the Woods, which was a visceral process for me. And then right after that, when I was in, you know, this kind of headspace, I read Milk and Honey. If you haven't read this book or heard of it somehow, I'll read you the back so you kind of get like where this book is coming from, essentially. All right, so on the back it says, "This is the journey of surviving through poetry. This is the blood, sweat, tears of 21 years. This is my heart in your hands. This is the hurting, the loving, the breaking, the healing." This is a poetry book that gets you in a place, you know? And I didn't think I was going to identify with it as much as I did, but I did. This book articulated like feelings and sentiments and emotions that I felt about things in a way that I didn't realize I was feeling. It's broken into the 4 sections that were on the back of the book: the hurting, the loving, the breaking, and the healing. And it is micro poems, like very quite small poems, along with illustrations, which I loved. This is one of my favorites. How can I write if he took my hands with him? And then just this and the breaking. It definitely crept up on me. Like, I didn't realize how much I was identifying and feeling along with the book until the last section, which was the healing. Because that section was fucking freeing. Because a lot of it was healing through femininity, which is important to me as a femme person. This book, combined with reading the other one right before, this little reading experience I had earlier in the summer, just really helped me love people the way I was supposed to. Because a lot of this book is about love and different types of love, and dealing with like the pain of relations built on love in different ways. And like, after reading this book and, you know, talking about like the healing and the power of like femininity and like femme people in your life, and it just like, I started a project where I write love letters to my friends, which are like little poems, and it just, you know, like, it just freed me to love more in the way that I was meant to. I don't know if I've really explained it well, but basically it is a very, very raw poetry collection that confronts so many hard, difficult, emotional things. And it gets you. It gets you, and it helps you too. Like, that's what's like amazing about this collection. And going off of that, I feel like I took this book's existence for granted, because I had read a few of these poems before. I'd seen them in different places. And so I got the impression that this was a really like kind of like tried and true staple. Like, I thought that this was like a very like established, it is very established, but I thought it had been established for much longer. And this book was published in like 2014, I think. Like, it's quite a new collection. I like didn't realize that the success of Milk and Honey is like kind of unheard of. Like, that's not like a normal thing for a book, a collection, to take off that much. So after I read the book, I did a bit of like research and digging around and was like looking up interviews with Rupi, who is like just a fantastic person, by the way. I loved listening to the story behind it. I will link below videos I found of her talking about the writing process, talking about the publication of the story, talking about where this book like came from for her and her life, where she was like 21, my age, and just like sat down and wrote this like groundbreaking poetry collection. Like, oh my god. And so yeah, I'll leave some like interviews that she did where she's talking about it, and some performances that she's done, because she also has a very specific poetry like rhythm and cadence that I haven't heard before. So it's really interesting and great to like listen to her read, and it was really interesting to have read these poems and to have such a like a personal connection with them, and then to hear her perform them as well. So that was the first day of CanWeek. It's definitely one of the ones that I highly recommend picking out, especially of all the ones that we're going to be talking about this week. We're going to be talking about 6 books specifically. The list, well, the uploading schedule will be linked below in a Google Doc that's been at the bottom of my videos recently. But that was this one. We had our time with it. I continue to have a connection with it. Shout out to my mom who brought me these flowers while I was filming. Shout out to my cat who's gonna eat them later. And I will see you tomorrow for day 2 of CanWeek, which is gonna be The Back of the Turtle by Thomas King.